What's up, guys? Welcome back to Nitty Gritty Sports, and welcome to the channel for the first time if you're new. Before we get started, we're going to be doing a giveaway on this channel once we hit 500 subscribers, so go ahead and subscribe so you can be notified once we start releasing more information about that. And also, check out some videos we recently posted. We posted a video about Colorado and Coach Prime and how we think they're going to do in their first year. And most recently, the biggest winners and losers of National Signing Day. We talked about Alabama and LSU and Texas A&M as well, and how they went from number 1 last year all the way down to number 15 this year. So a big fall for Jimbo Fisher and those boys. But with all that out the way, today's video is going to be about Hendon Hooker and how, in my opinion, he's by far the most undervalued player in this year's draft class. I mean, it goes without saying how valuable quarterbacks are in today's NFL, with the game constantly changing and so much more pressures being put on these quarterbacks. You're also seeing the value of what a great quarterback can do for a franchise. I mean, look at the Eagles. They were getting hate from so many people for not re-signing Carson Wentz. And, you know, they were going through the quarterback carousel for a couple of years, and they had a good supporting cast, and then they go and get Jalen Hurts in the second round, and look where they're at now. They bought into the style of football that Jalen Hurts plays, and they've been nothing but successful this season. So much so they're favored against the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, which, you know, many people are calling, today's modern day dynasty. So that just goes to show you the value of these quarterbacks. And when I look at Hendon Hooker, you know, these quote-unquote analysts, draft experts, got guys like Will Levis over Hendon Hooker. And I just can't understand that, because all you got to do to figure that out is watch the head-to-head. Tennessee's defense ran more man coverage last year than the second and third most ran man coverage teams combined. All right, so Tennessee is sticking in man coverage, win or lose. All right, so Will Levis had every chance to prove, against Tennessee in the head-to-head that he was a better quarterback than Hendon Hooker, but he couldn't get nothing going that game. And I know Kentucky, they had some injuries this year. Their running back was out for a couple weeks, but still, man, great players are going to play great. You're going to be able to recognize talent, and just the amount of picks that Will Levis is throwing, and it's a feast or famine situation with him. And then you look at Hendon Hooker, he prides himself on accuracy. He's one of the most accurate throwers of the football in this year's draft class by far. 2 interceptions this year. And also, can we look at the Alabama game? I mean, everyone's talking this year Alabama wasn't up to par, wasn't up to the Alabama standard. And, I'll give you that. That's obvious. You could just look at them and see they weren't the team that they were in 2008 or when they were winning all these national championships. But it's still Alabama, all right? So let's not forget that Hendon Hooker took the Tennessee Volunteers down with less than a minute to put the balls in field goal position to win that game. Time after time, Tennessee was 1 or 2 possessions behind in the Alabama game, and Hendon Hooker maintained composure throughout the whole game and consistently answered the shots that Alabama was putting up, consistently answered the points that Alabama was putting up on the board. And I mean, we were talking about Will Levis not having his weapons. What about Cedric Tillman being out for 70% of the season? And then all of a sudden, I remember when people were down in Tennessee saying Cedric Tillman's out, who's going to catch passes for Tennessee? The tight end, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, played amazing all season. Brew McCoy. And then Jalen Hyatt steps on the scene, has a couple monstrous games, and everybody forgets the narrative that Tennessee wasn't going to have any weapons to throw to. And also, if Hendon Hooker did not get hurt at the end of the season, Tennessee would have been playing in the national championship. We saw how those playoff games went. Another thing about Hendon Hooker is maturity. Let's not forget, when he first got to Tennessee in Heupel's first year there, he wasn't the starter. Joe Milton was the starter until he got hurt game 1 or game 2. I can't remember, but just the fact that Hendon Hooker was staying there after he was the guy at Virginia Tech shows you his character in the first place. I mean, Jesus, the guy writes children's books for kids. Really involved in his faith. The guy's just a great guy all around. And you listen to his interviews, he's humble to a fault. I would almost want to see Hendon Hooker show a little bit more. His presence is shown, but he doesn't have an ego at all. He minimizes how good of an athlete, how good his arm is. He always deflates to his teammates, which, you see that in a lot of guys with a lot of quarterbacks with good character, but it's definitely genuine with Hendon Hooker. I mean, you've seen him in so many interactions. His character holds up in all of them. But, I mean, let's just talk about Hendon Hooker's frame. 6'4", a runner. I mean, he's not afraid to run the football. And you look at Jalen Hurts, the Eagles, they're a running football team, and the threat of the quarterback run is enough to stifle linebackers and guys in the secondary in the run game. The Eagles don't even use Jalen Hurts that much in the regular season unless they have to. In the playoffs, you're seeing his usage rate in the run game skyrocket, and it's putting such a stranglehold on these defenses. And Jalen Hurts is just as good of a runner. I mean, Hendon Hooker, rather, is just as good of a runner as Jalen Hurts. It's not even a question. And then you compare Hendon Hooker to these other guys in the draft class like C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud played a great game against Georgia. He played outstanding. The best game of his career. That game right there boosted his draft stock tremendously. And we saw in that game, he used his legs, right? That's one thing we didn't see C.J. Stroud use. And, I'm a Tennessee fan, so I hate Georgia, but C.J. Stroud running wasn't on the film tape. Georgia was not prepared to stop the run. And they were sticking in that man coverage and everybody knows when you're a man, your back's turned towards the quarterback, so you don't know when he's running. Rather, when you're in zone, you're keeping your eyes straight on the quarterback. But anyways, you saw in the TCU game, Max Duggins was shut down, okay? The defense just wasn't focused on Ohio State, or the defense wasn't focused on C.J. Stroud running the ball in that Ohio State game. As good of a player as C.J. Stroud is, he's a pocket passer, that's obvious. He's not going to kill you with his legs. I mean, I don't even think he's as good of a runner as Joe Burrow. Okay, Joe Burrow is sneaky athletic. C.J. Stroud's a big guy. He's a big guy. So just as a runner, accuracy-wise, Hendon Hooker is by far the best quarterback in this draft class. And I'm going to pivot into this. What's up with guys in the NFL, these recruiters and these scouts, not paying enough love to Tennessee football? All the way back to Alvin Kamara, whenever Butch Jones was coaching, and Alvin Kamara was splitting time with Jalen Hurd. God knows why that was going on. I was vouching for Alvin Kamara to be a second round. I mean, I'll give it to you. Running backs ain't going in the first round. By far, though, he was one of the best running backs in that draft class. For him to slip all the way down to the mid of the third, I mean, I knew then. That was just disrespectful off rip. And then you look in the Pruitt era, Marquez Callaway had his most production his freshman year. I think that was Butch Jones's last year. Pruitt was awful. He needs to stick to the high school coaching. And I'm seeing Alabama fans, they're calling for Pruitt to be the Alabama DC. Everybody loves Pruitt all of a sudden. Pruitt sucks. Go listen to any clinic on YouTube of Jeremy Pruitt talking. He's terrible. He's constantly dogging his players. I'm serious. Look up Jeremy Pruitt coaching clinic. You don't even have to go 5 minutes into him to listen to him dogging the talent of Tennessee. Well, look, buddy. Look at what Heupel did with that same talent in 1 year. In 1 year, all right? And look, the Tennessee rewarded him. Extend, he's making $9 million a year. But anyways, we're talking about these players. Marquez Callaway, great athlete. He's on the Saints now. Juwan Jennings, 6th or 7th round pick, 5th round pick. No reason he should have been picked that late. We just had Jared Guantanamo Bay throwing him the ball with Jeremy Pruitt at the helm. What do you expect? These guys aren't showing Tennessee enough love, man. And I'm telling you, if Hendon Hooker's lucky enough to go to the right place, he's going to be a problem in the league immediately. I mean, you saw Lamar Jackson slip far enough all the way down to the last pick of the first round. Had a good system with the Ravens. I was just talking about the Eagles. Patrick Mahomes going to Andy Reid and the Chiefs. If Hendon Hooker gets a similar matchup, the NFL better watch out, man. And I'm just saying, I'm calling it here first. He's the most underrated player in this year's draft class. It's an absolute crime that they got him at 4 or 5 at the board for quarterbacks. But that's going to end my rant, guys. if you're watching now, definitely subscribe, man. Check out some other videos. I appreciate it, guys. We're going to be posting more and more content. Leave down in the comments what you think. Any video ideas, any topics you want me or Drew to talk about, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. But yeah, that's going to do it. Thanks.